not pillar of Cameron Lamb, Detective DeValkenaere. I'm also proud to have one of the other co-sponsors here today, Legislator Manny Barca, and I'm also going to be joined today by the County Executive, Frank White. This is an important day, not only for the Lamb family, but for civil rights in general. The fact that these leaders today, who join us today, are willing to stand up and to say that Cameron Lamb should be with us here today. Cameron Lamb should be here fighting for civil rights, taking care of his children, and living a happy and healthy life. I wholeheartedly and thankfully send my sincerest gratitude to the Court of Appeals for standing up and realizing that the decision here at the Jackson County Courthouse should be upheld, and it was upheld. But as today as you hear, folks, remember this. This resolution, this fight for support for Cameron Lamb is not easy in the halls of government. It has not been easy in the halls of government. It is disgraceful that it has been difficult in the halls of government. A few months ago, we saw the terrible shooting of a young man who went to the wrong house. There was support there, but as you see, it's gone silent. But when there is support put forward for a family and for a man who should be here today, who was killed by a detective, we hear silence. That silence is deafening, and that silence will not be forgotten. But today, we can see, as the sun comes out now, a little hope over the horizon and justice for Cameron Lamb. Today, I'm joined by Casey Leap. I'm joined by It's Time for Justice. And I do know that More Squared and the Urban League are all in support of today's event. I have the great honor now to introduce a good friend, a fellow legislator, the co-sponsor of the resolution to support Cameron Lamb and to ask the governor to respect the rule of law, Legislator Manny Barca.
To find the words today is very difficult. It's a very somber moment to be here in celebration of a Court of Appeals ruling. There should be one justice, not two justice systems. One's for the disadvantaged and one for the politically connected. What we find ourselves facing now is that there are two forms of justice. The Court of Appeals decision should be direct and swift, as it was, as should the Supreme Court decision, if that's where it's going now. But I want to draw attention that politically connected institutions, politically connected individuals are driving a political process that, if not the Supreme Court overturns, that the governor may pardon. That is not the justice system that founding fathers created for us. That is not the justice system that many of us upheld through the civil rights movements. That's not the justice process that we continue to carry and fight for the saving of this democracy. The Lamb family deserves the justice that should be granted. And if not, it's time we think about what we're doing. It's time we think about who we're electing. It's time we think about the spider web of connections that go with that process. Cameron Lamb deserves to be here today. Police deserve to be held accountable. Accountability in government is necessary for the continued trust and to ensure that we have these systems. It's what we should all believe in and what we all deserve. I'll leave it there.
Thank you, Legislator. I now have the great honor to introduce the stepfather of Cameron Lamb, Akil Bey.
Thank you. I guess we're asking that the governor take into consideration. I know they're thinking about this Eric DeValkenaere, but we pray that he take into consideration who Cameron Lamb was, what he would offer the city and could offer the city as an upstanding citizen, as a father to his children. He was a young man that decided to start his own business. He didn't have no criminal record. There's things that's been said about him that's untrue. The governor, I know he has the power to do this such thing as a pardon, but he need to search his own heart and understand the fact. DeValkenaere has just got a couple years to do. They wrote up sometime that the governor is a firm believer in second chances. He got the second chance from the judge. He gave him 6 years. He do his little bit and come on out. Now, but don't forget about Cameron. Think about Cameron. Think about yourselves. You know what I'm saying? As far as your own children. You know, one morning they raised their voice, a few minutes later they lowered. All right? And Cameron, he was bagging into his place. And this detective snatched the life out of him. So we understand that we probably could have got a better charge, but what's important is that what has happened in Kansas City with this is the gelling of the community with the prosecutor office and the grateful things that these organizations is doing to bring the awareness of what's going on to the forefront. And we need to take heed to that, you know, and take notice of that. We got situations that's happening in the city where crime is down in certain areas because of the cooperation of our legal system and the people. So anyway, I don't want to go into no big old thing because I can talk to them. So I'm going to say that and shut up. Thank you.
Akil, I appreciate your words, and you never have to sit down and be quiet. You deserve to be heard every day, all day. This next person I'm going to bring up, everyone knows, of course, for his dedication not only to the Royals, but dedication to this county. When I first was elected in 2018, Frank White, as county executive, stood with the attacks and the killings that went on that caused the unrest in 2020. He stood up against those who pushed on the black community to just stay in their place. And I'm proud today to say that the county executive, as soon as this came up, as soon as any discussion was coming up, Frank White, our county executive, stood with the Lamb family, and he's here to stand today. Our county executive, Frank White.
Thank you, Jalen. Good morning, everybody, and thanks for coming out to support the Lamb family today. You know, as a black man growing up in the segregated South, I growing up on Kansas City's east side, I witnessed a lot of tragic events over my lifetime. You know, being 73 years old, I've seen a lot in this city, and some of the painful events and some personal racism and hate. You know, it's just part of it. Growing up in the 60s and growing up in Kansas City during that time, Kansas City wasn't always that great a place, but we've come a long way. But I've never experienced the kind of pain that's been felt by the Lamb family. The pain of having a loved one taken away by someone that was sworn to serve and protect. You know, I don't think there's any worse pain than you can feel than that pain. We're here today because the criminal justice system was allowed to play out, and it worked in favor of the Lamb family. In the end, we know that nothing will ever replace your loss, but we hope you find some comfort in the support that our community is giving you and your family. This community deserves peace. It deserves healing, which starts today, I believe, because we've been assured that the equal justice system under the law applies to everyone, regardless of who you are. And Jackson County is dedicated to upholding fairness, equality, and it's critical that we all unite in our efforts every day going forward. Keep uniting in our efforts, that no other family would have to go through the pain that the Lamb family has experienced. So continue to support the family, continue to stand up for justice, fairness, and as if we do that together, all together, then things like this won't happen, hopefully, again. Thank you so much.
I now have the distinct privilege to not only introduce a civil rights leader, but a dear friend and family in my book, Steve Young, the founder of the Kansas City Law Enforcement Accountability Project.
This is tough, but first I want to let everybody know that Gwen Grant from the Urban League of Greater Kansas City, she supports the family. And she says she would have been here, but she's actually traveling right now. December the 3rd, 2019. That was the day that Eric DeValkenaere took Cameron Lamb's life. November the 21st, 2021 was the day that DeValkenaere was found guilty. October the 17th, 2023, the appeals court upheld that conviction. But yet we still know that we're in for a fight. We still know that we're in for a battle because the FOP is lobbying hard. The FOP is lobbying the governor to pardon DeValkenaere. The FOP has lots of money, y'all. There's lots of politicians that are scared of the FOP right here in Kansas City.
That's right.
Right here, there's lots of politicians that are in the bed with the FOP. That means they're okay with the FOP lobbying the governor to pardon DeValkenaere. That means that they're okay with that. So remember that. Remember, you know the politicians that you don't hear from. Remember the politicians that you do not hear speak out about this. But like I said, Akil, we got your back. We're not going nowhere. We're here. We're here for the fight. And as soon as DeValkenaere is in jail, well, actually, he's in. Is he in jail? Is he? I don't know. He has 1 foot in and 1 foot out, right? Who gets that kind of privilege? Who gets that kind of privilege? We got your back. We're gonna do this to the end. We have a call to action for everybody to call the governor and tell him not to pardon DeValkenaere. Call him, email. Get on KC Leap's website, kcleap.org. Please call the governor. Tell him, do not pardon DeValkenaere. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. I now have the great honor to introduce another trailblazer and civil rights leader, Cheryl Ferguson, founder of It's Time for Justice.
Good morning, everyone, or afternoon. I'm not sure what time it is any longer. But this is a bittersweet victory. Cameron Lamb was my daughter's first love. And even though we have a conviction to where he's surrendered himself to prison, she still spent her night last night in tears. And that's something that the governor needs to think about. It hurts a community. When you have a circumstance to where murder happens, whether or not it's in the east side, whether or not it's from the police, whether or not it's from people, there's two families that hurt after that. And now I'm not giving any account to care necessarily about the one that's hurt on the other side, because it's time for them to get a message that you need to stop brutalizing us. It's time for them to get a message that it is not your job to be the judge, jury, and executioner. It is time for DeValkenaere to spend his 6 years, small as it may be, because we know that there's quote-unquote criminals for selling marijuana that's legal for some, but couldn't get the legality for others, and they're going to spend more time in jail than DeValkenaere will. So it's time for the FOP to shut up. It's time for the FOP to sit down. and it's time for justice.
Thank you, Cheryl. Before we close, I want to make this perfectly clear. Jackson County was the first government to pass a resolution to urge the governor to not pardon DeValkenaere, to stand with Cameron Lamb. There are 9 of us. We got 5. A simple majority. Why didn't we have all 9? A man who should be alive today was killed. But the politics of the moment controlled those other votes. But I praise my colleagues. I praise Manny Abarca, who stood with me and the Lamb family to introduce that resolution, and we got it done. And the county executive, we got it done. Now it's time for those across the street at Kansas City City Hall, for the mayor, for the city council, for all people who believe in justice in Jackson County, to say to the governor, do not pardon a killer. Do not pardon those who are connected politically. Stand for justice. Stand for what is right. And when we do that, maybe, just maybe, we can bring back hope and faith in our justice system. But I call on all governments. I call on all elected officials. Ask Governor Parson not to pardon Detective DeValkenaere. I thank everyone who's been here today. I know there might be some questions.
Yes,
I'd be glad to take.
a quick question
Please.
right now. I know we're here to talk about the pardon today, but Fox 4 has learned of an incredibly urgent matter. His defense team has filed a motion for an appeal bond this morning, and the state attorney general's office has already responded, and they have no objection to this appeal bond. Can we get your reaction to the idea that DeValkenaere can get out of jail as soon as today?
This is the first we've heard of it. And as far as that go, they be playing tricks all the time anyway. There's nothing I could do about it. You understand? It just goes to the
Your
mentality.
reaction that he could be getting out of jail today?
We're not happy about it, you know. The appellate court made a decision, and there was a warrant that was put out, and he's in jail, so that jail is where he should remain.
See, I can't get bogged down destroying myself over some junk that they doing. They've been doing it since December the 3rd, 2019. And hasn't stopped. And I don't foresee them stopping in the near future until it's finally done where if he get a pardon or not, but it don't end there. Understand? I don't know. He committed a civil rights violation, a federal violation. This thing don't have to end with the state. So I don't care what they do. Feds might be involved in this thing after that.
Mr. Bay, Mr. Anderson touched on this a little bit, but you have members of the Jackson County legislature here and the Jackson County executive, but they don't fund the police department. Kansas City does. The mayor's not here. None of the council members are here at this thing today. What do you think about that?
We have some council members that's on board. There's no question about that. Whatever the mayor do, that's his business. See, I'm not gonna get discouraged. I don't care if none of them show up. We got our groups here. We got people here that care. They voicing, they speaking up for us, and we know that the wheels is turning. But this city has always been involved in some type of skullduggery stuff. All you got to do, if all you news folks, y'all know what's been going on here. All you news folks get together, send some information to the Justice Department. Y'all know an investigation need to be done on Kansas City, Missouri. Y'all know it. So what about you all? Matter of fact, y'all have connections with the national news organizations like CNN and MSNBC. Y'all don't contact y'all parties and say this needs to be on y'all station as well? Y'all don't do that? Say it.
Do you feel like this should be national news?
Absolutely.
I mean, we most definitely do.
There's syndication out here.
I have another question for you.
Okay.
If you could say something to Governor Parsons right now, urging him not to pardon Detective DeValkenaere, what would you say?
I would say, Governor Parson, Cameron Lamb was my one and only son. He was a son that was loved by all who knew him. He was a great father to 3 young sons. Imagine being at this day and time, and you have 3 young boys that need their fathers, and that was taken away from them for no reason at all. You know, I just want to go into something a little different, because the morning of December the 3rd, my son was up early that morning, and he was outside doing what he loved to do. His passion for fixing cars, repairing cars, he was in the backyard. That would be the last time that I would hear him say, "Hey, what's up, Mama?" Because I messaged him, "What's up, Mama?" There is no reason at all. He had so many goals, plans. He spent so much time with his sons. He was needed by his family. We could call on him and ask him things. I've said it before. He could have been a pillar in this community. It was nothing for him to drive down the highway or on the street and see someone's vehicle stalled on the side of the road and stop and assist with their needs. So, I mean, this is a big thing. We loved our loved one. This was my one and only son. He was my baby, and he is missed, and it has truly affected our family. It has.
Ma'am, I did want to ask you, especially in light of what the county executive said, we've certainly heard for many, many years about how a lot of folks believe that young African-American men in particular are profiled, racially targeted. Do you believe this was a white officer, your son was a young black man? Do you think there was a racial profiling of these kids?
Well, absolutely. I mean, for one, there was no need at all for them to even have been at the property. And from my understanding and what we learned was that DeValkenaere had his sight on my son on 43rd and Cleveland, I believe. DeValkenaere was parked at a liquor store. So when my son was at the four-way stop sign, DeValkenaere had his eye, but he had no desire at that time. He was going to go after him, but he had no desire at that time to just get up and go. What he decided to do was get out of his vehicle, open his trunk, and vest up. What was that all about? What was that all about? You didn't get a call over the radio to say, "Oh, I'm in danger. This young man has a gun on me." You got up and you put on a bulletproof vest as if I'm getting ready to go over and approach a black man, and I better go ahead on and put my safety gear on. That was never the deal. My son is not a dangerous person, not at all. So
I did want to ask you too, because this is not
Last question.
about the Missouri Attorney General's office and their role in this appeal with the Court of Appeals. What's your thought about that? And obviously they were on the losing side. They lost.
right. Well, I hope that Governor Parson has a heart. I mean, we've been through a trial, sentencing, and then we went to the appellate court, which there was three judges. So I just hope and I pray that, whatever he decides to look at, that he will make the right decision.
Thank you both.
Okay.
Thank you. That's the last question. Thank you. The family and several of us will still be here to answer questions. I do want to point out that representatives from Moore Squared are here, and also our friends from Stand Up KC are here to stand in solidarity with the Lamb family.
Also, Justice for Wyandotte County is actually here too.
I'm sorry, Justice for Wyandotte is also here as well. We'll all be glad to answer questions after this, but I appreciate everyone showing up. I appreciate the media that is here. This fight is not over, but let us still stand with the Lamb family. You heard a mother's cry for justice. You heard what she said. You heard what the stepfather had to say, his father had to say. They want justice. Let's uphold justice today. Thank you all.
Thank you.